excited that we were going to be able to create for him that thing that I had always wanted. And I was like, I'm just trying to be pleasant. Like, I don't know what to do. I've never dealt with this before. He's like, right, but the UK media are saying you love it. Tell me the ways of how you make things flavorful, but equally, I want to still welcome them with something that I think they'll enjoy. So first things first.
Imagine building your entire brand on being the royal family's rebel princess, only for the internet to dig up a rumor that you might have been hiding a whole daughter for 3 decades. Meghan Markle doesn't just have skeletons in her closet. She's got a maternity ward in there. And while she's busy giving interviews about finding her voice and crying about being silenced, people are out here asking, "Girl, where was your voice when you were allegedly signing secret annulment papers in Vegas?"
What they did is they conducted a search with finding if a Rachel Meghan Markle.
Because let's be real, if Meghan's life were a Netflix show, the tagline would be, "New season, same lies, different prince." Every year, another leak, another scandal, another chapter in the world's messiest royal soap opera. And this time, it's not about tiaras, not about titles. It's about a child that nobody was supposed to know existed. If you want to see more royal scandals exposed, smash that subscribe button and let's dive into this mess together. So here's the thing about Meghan Markle's official story. It has a giant hole in it. The kind of hole you don't patch with excuses. You patch with lies and sealed court records.
It's not Eugenie, it's Eugenie. Because those Windsor jeans. Lots of discussion.
After graduating high school in 1999, the narrative goes that Meghan decided to take a gap year before college. Sounds wholesome, right? Traveling, self-discovery, eating gelato in Italy. Except there's just one problem. Nobody can prove a single thing about where she actually was. No travel receipts, no photos, no friends recalling wild adventures. Nothing. Just Meghan's word, which at this point has the credibility of a used car salesman with a forged license.
Summer of 1994. Meghan Markle has just graduated from Immaculate Heart High School. While her class...
Instead of backpacking across Europe, rumors say she was strapping on a wedding dress in Las Vegas, secretly marrying her teenage boyfriend. And honestly, doesn't that sound way more like the Meghan we know today? The queen of do whatever it takes. Suddenly disappears for 12 months, and all we get is the vaguest explanation in history. That gap year looks less like soul-searching and more like damage control. And here's the kicker. If this missing year really did involve a baby,
Meghan Markle trembling as Lilibet's alleged biological mother arrives in California to take back her daughter.
then Meghan didn't just take a gap year. She took a gap child. Let's talk about Vegas, the city where bad decisions aren't just made, they're immortalized in neon lights. And according to rumors, Meghan Markle wasn't there for slot machines or cheap buffets. Nope, she was allegedly walking down some bargain bin aisle to marry Joe Giuliano, her teenage flame. Not exactly Windsor Castle material, but hey, Meghan's always had a talent for trading up. This wasn't some glittery celebrity elopement either.
What if one of the world's most famous women admitted to something so personal, so startling, that it left even her...
2 family witnesses, a courthouse, and boom, wedded bliss. Except not really, because the marriage lasted about as long as a free hotel drink voucher. Months later, an annulment was filed. And here's where it gets suspicious. The record was sealed in Vegas, a city where you can dig up Elvis-themed divorces from the 70s. But somehow, Meghan's paperwork is locked away like it's a matter of national security. Why? What was so scandalous that officials slammed the vault shut on her teenage love life?
Why don't Harry's children have African-American features? Is Meghan their biological mother? In 2018, before marriage...
It sure wasn't because they cared about her privacy. Vegas courts don't hand out secrecy like party favors. Unless, of course, there was something in those papers that could ruin the perfect self-made Duchess fairy tale she'd be selling years later. Here's where Meghan's gap year tale really starts to collapse. Because whispers don't just talk about a teenage wedding, they talk about a pregnancy. Yeah, that's right. While the official story paints her as some globe-trotting, free spirit, the rumor mill says she was dealing with something a whole lot less Instagrammable.
A video has surfaced online showing Meghan Markle pictured with her 2-year-old daughter Lilibeth at the 4th of July holiday parade.
A baby bump. By mid-1995, the story goes, Meghan had a daughter. Not a rumor about college trips, not a vague tale about finding herself, a whole child. And instead of owning up, she allegedly handed the baby over to the Giuliano family, like she was dropping off dry cleaning. Raised quietly. No adoption papers, no public acknowledgement, just erased from Meghan's shiny narrative like she'd never existed. Think about the timeline here. Teenage marriage in Vegas.
Samantha Markle leaks Meghan's 21-year-old daughter's birth certificate as proof. A shocking revelation has sent shockwaves.
Sealed annulment papers, and then 9 months later, boom. A baby that conveniently disappears from every official record. The math isn't complicated. If the whispers are true, Meghan wasn't just playing house with Joe Giuliano. She was building a family until suddenly she wasn't. The Giulianos, by all accounts, were old school, private, traditional. They valued family, commitment, stability. The kind of people who don't just throw around wild stories for attention. These weren't tabloid seekers or social media addicts.
So Meghan Markle, she decided to post pictures of her kids on set with her for the Netflix show, I guess to try and drum up attention. So
looking for their 15 minutes. They were a working-class family who allegedly found themselves raising someone else's child, while that someone else went off to reinvent herself completely. Meghan? She valued escape routes. Always has, always will, so the alleged arrangement was struck. The Giulianos would raise the child and Meghan would vanish into her shiny, baggage-free new life. No papers, no adoption, no official trail. Just a silent trade-off, like a business transaction nobody wanted to admit happened.
She suffers from such a rare disorder of being unable to just be a human. Candace Owens left the world.
And here's what's really chilling about this alleged arrangement. It wasn't a desperate teenage mom making the best of a bad situation. According to the whispers, this was calculated. Strategic. Meghan allegedly saw motherhood as an obstacle to her ambitions, not a blessing to embrace. The baby wasn't a person to love and protect, but a problem to solve and then forget. Think about the coldness required for that kind of decision. Most people struggle to give away old clothes without feeling sentimental.
Let's talk about Meghan Markle for a second, because something weird's going on, and it's got a lot of people raising eyebrows, especially.
But Meghan allegedly handed over her own flesh and blood and then scrubbed the experience from her memory like it never happened. That's not just moving on from a mistake. That's systematic erasure. And let's be honest, doesn't this sound exactly like Meghan's playbook? Reinvent, erase, repackage. 1 minute she's a Hollywood extra, next she's a royal duchess. 1 minute there's a husband and maybe a baby. Next she's scrubbing the record clean. Every chapter of her story seems to come with a vanishing act.
Did anyone notice Meghan's baby bump looking strange? Did she really give birth to Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet herself?
Friends disappear. Family gets cut off. Relationships end in scorched earth. So why would motherhood be any different? If a baby threatened her big dreams of acting and social climbing, she'd treat it like she treats everyone else who stops being useful. Delete, block, pretend they never existed. The pattern is so consistent, it's almost predictable. The Giuliano family supposedly raised that little girl in silence while Meghan went off to Northwestern to rebrand herself as the picture-perfect starlet with no baggage.
Prince Harry was recently seen with his 2-year-old daughter, Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor. Many critics...
While they were attending school plays and birthday parties, Meghan was networking at college mixers. While they were explaining why Daddy wasn't around, Meghan was crafting stories about soul-searching in Europe. But you can only bury secrets for so long, and this one just turned 30. And here's the really twisted part. That child has allegedly been watching her birth mother become a global icon while remaining a family secret herself. Watching Meghan give speeches about authenticity while living a lie.
Even though Meghan has $100 million, she can never buy her daughter Princess Charlotte's future title. Meghan may be wealthier than...
Watching her cry about being silenced, while she's the one who allegedly did the silencing first. By the time Meghan Markle stepped foot on Northwestern's campus, you'd think she'd been dropped out of the sky. Brand new identity, polished smile, zero baggage. It was like watching someone reboot their entire operating system. No teenage marriage, no annulment, no whispers of a baby. Just actress in training Meghan pretending the past didn't exist. It wasn't reinvention.
It's different than what I've ever brought you before. Are you excited?
It was witness protection without the government contract. Let's not sugarcoat it. This wasn't some starry-eyed freshman chasing dreams. This was a calculated reboot. Meghan didn't just distance herself from the Giuliano family, she erased them from her life script. Poof, gone. Like they were some extra in a movie she cut out of the final edit. She rolled into college selling the image of a free-spirited, worldly traveler, when in reality, her so-called gap year had more red flags than a Buckingham Palace scandal memo.
So it happened, and I'm not saying it finally happened because it happened way quicker than I expected it to.
And people bought it. Professors, classmates, casting directors. Everyone swallowed the reinvention without asking what it cost. Think about the audacity here. While the Giulianos were allegedly raising her child in quiet anonymity, Meghan was networking at sorority parties and auditioning for student films. While they were changing diapers and attending parent-teacher conferences, she was crafting the perfect backstory about soul-searching in Europe.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have revealed a rare new image of their kids, Archie and Lilibet. The picture...
The compartmentalization is almost impressive if it wasn't so cold. Meghan's entire rise started with one lie layered on top of another until the foundation of her story was nothing but smoke. But here's the thing about building your empire on quicksand. Eventually, the ground shifts. And when it does, everything you've built comes crashing down. Meghan thought she was slick. Wipe the slate clean, swap out the old life for a shiny new script, and hope nobody notices the missing chapters.
Meghan Markle shares two never-before-seen pictures of Lilibet to mark her birthday.
But the problem with secrets is they always leak. And in Meghan's case, they dripped out like a broken faucet. Friends of the Giuliano family, they couldn't quite keep their mouths shut. Over the years, little hints kept surfacing. Always vague, always careful, but always the same storyline. Meghan's past wasn't as spotless as she wanted the world to believe. And here's the kicker. Too many whispers started sounding identical. Different people, different places, same story. A teenage wedding, a hidden baby, a sealed annulment. That's not coincidence.
Here's what Princess Lilibet looks like now. See every official photo that's ever been shared of the little royal, with an adorable...
That's a pattern, and if there's one thing Meghan can't control, it's other people's memories. She can ghost family, cut off old friends, and bulldoze anyone who doesn't fit her narrative. But she can't rewrite the whispers that float around like smoke at a fire scene. The more she climbed Hollywood, the royals, global spotlight, the louder those whispers grew. Every new headline about Meghan speaking her truth only made people hungrier for the truth she never talks about. Every interview about finding her voice made the silence around her missing year.
The world gasped when photos emerged of Prince Harry and his daughter, Lilibet, enjoying a 4th of July parade in...
More deafening. Because here's what's really twisted about this whole thing. The woman who built her brand on authenticity, who gives endless speeches about her truth and her struggles, has allegedly spent decades burying the one chapter that could actually explain everything about her ambition and her carefully scripted image. And that truth, it's got a 30-year-old birthday cake on it. And now we've arrived at the part Meghan Markle has to dread the most, the calendar. Because if the whispers are true, that hidden daughter isn't some phantom of the past anymore.
Why did Queen Elizabeth refuse to take a photo with Meghan's daughter? This was her clever move. The Queen always knew Meghan wasn't simple.
She's a grown woman, 30 years old, with her own voice, her own power, and absolutely nothing stopping her from stepping into the light. One headline, one interview, one DNA test. That's all it would take to flip Meghan's carefully scripted royal rebel narrative into a cautionary tale about lies, ambition, and abandonment. Think about it. Meghan has built an empire on telling her version of the story. She cried on primetime television about being silenced by the royal family. She positioned herself as the victim who finally found
Meghan and Harry's children have been denied royal titles and will not be granted HRH status. This means that they can
her voice after years of oppression. But what happens if the person she allegedly silenced first, her own daughter, suddenly decides she's tired of being invisible? That's not a PR crisis. That's a demolition. Picture this scenario. A 30-year-old woman who spent her entire life watching her alleged birth mother become a global icon while she remained a family secret. Watching Meghan give speeches about motherhood and authenticity while allegedly abandoning her first child.
Mother, I would sum her up as, not very good. She shouldn't be a mother, or should not.
Watching her cry about being cut off from family while she's the one who allegedly did the cutting first. The psychological impact alone is staggering. Imagine growing up knowing your mother chose fame over you, chose a clean slate over acknowledging your existence. And now that same mother is worth millions, living in a Montecito mansion, preaching about finding your voice and speaking your truth. For 30 years, Meghan has allegedly kept this chapter padlocked, betting that silence and sealed records would hold forever.
All right, here's where things start to get really weird. A woman nobody had ever heard of, going only by the initial.
But time doesn't stay quiet. Children grow up, secrets grow teeth, and if this daughter ever speaks, it won't just bruise Meghan's image. It could obliterate the royal brand she's clung to like a lifeline. And here's the beautiful irony. After years of Meghan controlling every narrative, every interview, every carefully crafted Instagram post, she won't control the script this time. If that 30-year-old woman decides to tell her story, Meghan becomes just another character in someone else's truth.
Meghan Markle's shocking court revelation. The untold story of a 21-year-old secret daughter.
A truth that could expose every carefully constructed lie, every strategic omission, every calculated reinvention. The woman who made a career out of victim narratives could suddenly find herself cast as the villain in the most damaging story of her life. And that truth could be the one thing her PR team can't spin, her lawyers can't seal, and her tears can't wash away. Meghan Markle has spent years selling the world a polished image, but Polish can't hide cracks this deep. A missing year that doesn't add up.
This was sent to me by a follower. Thank you. Two things. This picture, I've seen it before, but I don't think I've ever seen.
A Vegas annulment sealed like it holds nuclear codes. Whispers of a daughter that's no longer a rumor, but a 30-year-old reality waiting to be acknowledged. Meghan can play the role of victim. She can spin interviews and documentaries about finding her voice and overcoming adversity. She can position herself as the outsider who shook up the monarchy, the mixed-race American who challenged centuries of tradition. But none of that erases the questions that stalk her past like shadows. The silence isn't strength, it's fear.
I have scratched out my email address. That's my personal.
Fear that the story she buried will come walking into the spotlight and dismantle everything she's built brick by carefully constructed brick. Think about the ultimate irony here. The woman who made headlines for speaking out against being silenced allegedly spent decades silencing her own flesh and blood. The Duchess who cried about losing her voice potentially stole someone else's before they could even speak. the royal rebel who fought against institutional cover-ups,
a longtime friend from her teenage years. The ceremony is short and extremely private. Only 2 family members are said to
might be running the biggest cover-up of all. And the timing of it all? Chef's kiss level of poetic justice. Just as Meghan's positioning herself as the voice of the voiceless, championing women's rights and maternal advocacy, this ghost from her past threatens to expose her as potentially the worst kind of hypocrite. The woman preaching about authentic motherhood while allegedly abandoning her first child. The activist fighting for women's empowerment while potentially robbing a young woman of her identity.
Meghan Markle's struggle. Meghan Markle, already under intense scrutiny as a member of the British royal family,
for 3 decades. Here's what makes this so perfectly Meghan. It's all about timing and control. She chose when to reveal her struggles with the royal family. She chose when to step back from royal duties. She chose when to give that explosive Oprah interview. She controls every Netflix documentary, every podcast appearance, every carefully worded statement. But this is the one story where she doesn't get to choose the timing, the narrative, or the outcome. The control freak who micromanages every aspect of her public image.
Across living rooms when Meghan dropped this bombshell. A hidden daughter? Why keep such a monumental secret?
Suddenly faces a variable she can't manipulate. A grown woman with her own agency, her own story, and potentially her own desire for truth. No amount of PR spin can package away a DNA match. No carefully crafted victim narrative can explain away 3 decades of alleged abandonment. And here's the really twisted part. Meghan's entire brand is built on authenticity and truth-telling. Every speech, every interview, every public appearance.
2020, but Lilibet was born in June 2021, with only an 11-month interval between the 2 pregnancies.
Hammers home the same message about finding your voice and living your truth. But what happens when the biggest truth of all is the one she's allegedly been running from since she was a teenager? Because no matter how carefully Meghan crafts her image, no matter how many tears she sheds on camera, no matter how many times she reinvents herself, the truth has a way of slipping through the cracks. And when it does, it won't just bruise her reputation. It will bulldoze the entire foundation she's fought to maintain.
Back to disclosure, the implications it holds for the Markle family, and the broader impact it may have on Meghan's public image.
You can run from critics, you can dodge headlines, you can even escape royal protocols, but you can't outrun blood. And blood, as they say, always tells the truth. This isn't a fairy tale with a happy ending. It's a countdown, and when that clock finally strikes midnight, Meghan won't be the one holding the pen to write the final chapter. This isn't a story about royal drama or celebrity gossip. This is about the price of ambition when it comes at the cost of truth. Meghan Markle built her empire on a foundation of carefully curated authenticity.
How old this kid is supposed to be. I was scrolling through Instagram and I see this picture and I'm like, wow, her daughter is...
But authenticity built on lies isn't authentic at all. It's just really good marketing. For 30 years, she's allegedly kept this secret buried deeper than royal family scandals. But secrets have a shelf life, and this one's about to expire. The missing gap year, the sealed Vegas records, the whispers that won't die, they all point to the same conclusion. The woman who cried about being silenced by the institution might have been doing the silencing all along.
Father-daughter bonding moment. Or was it yet another carefully staged publicity stunt by Meghan Markle?
And here's the thing about truth. It doesn't care about your timeline, your brand, or your carefully crafted image. It doesn't care if you're a duchess, a podcast host, or a Netflix producer. When it's ready to surface, it surfaces. And when it does, all the PR teams in the world can't put that genie back in the bottle. The royal rebel who fought so hard to control her narrative is about to discover what happens when the narrative controls you instead. Because in the end, you can reinvent yourself 1,000 times, but you can't reinvent the past. in the past. It just turned 30 and might be ready to tell its own story. Look, this whole thing is just getting started. If you found this as wild as I did, there's definitely more where this came from. What do you think? Is this all just internet rumors, or is there something bigger here? Let me know in the comments below.